Yo, what is good? It's your boy Gio, back with another episode of the Gio Knows Nothing Podcast. We're here to feed the streets. I am one half of Eric B and Gio Kim, along with my co-host, Eric B. Say what's good.
Yo, what's good, guys?
And we are also joined here by our brand spanking new third mic, Alex Big Papa Pump, Big Papa Big Head. Say what it do.
I'm not responding to that intro.
So you just did respond to it. We promote you to third chair, and this is how you act.
Why you gotta throw big head in there? They can't see me. They don't need to know how big my head is.
Yeah, but unfortunately they can hear you, so say what's good.
What's good?
Thank you, sir. Let's get into this shit. This is where the music goes. Boom, 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 boom. All right.
They're fucking Power Rangers?
Yes. All right.
Please leave that in.
I almost jumped.
All of that. Please leave all of that in.
I will. I don't know why was that so funny. Oh man.
Dun, 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 dun.
Hate you. Wait, I should make that the transition music.
You probably shouldn't. I'm sure there's some copyright law
like
involved there.
A remake of it. Alright, in the MLB, we got mostly Red Sox news because we're big marks for our hometown team. We have a brand new signing, Marwin Gonzalez, infamous cheater from the Houston Astros, has signed with the Red Sox. 1 year, $3 million deal. He's going to be playing outfield for us, probably left field, playing off that green monster. I don't think he's that good of a player, but, he's an outfielder that we could throw out there. Eric, please tell me that I'm right.
Gio, you're kind of right. You know what? Marwin Gonzalez is a cheater. He cheated on those teams. His best season was full of fraud. But, last couple of years he's been in Minnesota, and he's been a pretty good player. So, last year, I said before, I'll say it again, I'll say it till the day I die, I don't hold the 2020 season against any individual player. Marwin Gonzalez included. He didn't have good numbers last year, but 2019, his last full season away from the Houston Astros, he still was pretty good for Minnesota, so I will take it.
Yeah, in the last 4 years, he's only had an OPS plus above 100 twice. Oh, wait, no, I'm looking at this in reverse. Oh, no, it still stands. The last 2 years, only above 100 twice, including that 146 OPS plus season he had in Houston 2017 when the trash cans were a banging. So what does that mean essentially? I don't think this is a good pickup. I feel like earlier in the offseason they should have went and attacked trying to pick up Eddie Rosario to play left for us. I feel like that would have been a much better pickup in terms of offense and even defense because he has a cannon of an arm at least. And, nobody's going to get a double if he plays it right off the left field wall with the green monster being there. But, like you said, he's another person that we could throw in the outfield. We need outfielders.
You know what? For $3 million, he's going to be playing left field. He is going to be maybe play some right, possibly. I don't think he's fast enough for right, but, Hunter Renfroe in right, JD Martinez most of the time in left. And you give, actually put Verdugo in center if Verdugo's going to play center. And that's not a terrible outfield.
Yes, Verdugo is slated to play center.
I've said before, I'm not a prospect guy by any means for any sport. But I guess the Red Sox do have some kid who's going to be like maybe in Worcester this year, could potentially make the Red Sox play center field. And he's like a statistical dream. I can't remember the kid's name though for the life of me. So, maybe this kid breaks in and maybe Verdugo or Renfroe moves over to left field and we get a little bit more JD and all this is going to do is create more options.
Yeah, I see them probably switching off him and JD in left whenever JD feels like playing the outfield because honestly, JD he's there for the bat and we know that. He could field a ball. So you could throw him in left. Just don't throw him in right. That's all I ask.
throwing him in right is a terrible idea. Jaron Duran is the name of the player that I've heard about. Yeah, apparently the kid is very, very good, and I guess he is going to be playing. I don't even know what's happening with the minors this year, but if AAA is actually playing as planned, Duran will likely be in Worcester. But apparently, he's got all the tools needed to make an MLB team in the next couple of years. Duran at center field, Verdugo and right, and Renfroe in left. And you just have Marwin Gonzalez out there to platoon. You have Hunter Renfroe to platoon. This will definitely give them some options. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not excited about it.
Also, like Kike, he could at least play the infield as well, because he's also listed as a shortstop and first baseman.
I wouldn't necessarily call Marwin Gonzalez a shortstop these days, but if he can play some first base, where he's predominantly played the last few years, left field, he'll definitely be a good utility player. A guy that will probably play close to 100 games this year.
But that wasn't the only move the Red Sox ended up making, because before they reportedly agreed on a deal with Marwin Gonzalez, they traded away Andrew Benintendi to Kansas City in a 3-team deal that also included the Mets. The Red Sox ended up getting Franchy Cordero and right-handed pitcher Josh Winkowski, I believe is how you say it. Kansas City got Benintendi, and the Mets got outfield prospect from the Royals, Khalil Lee. It would have been cool if we got Khalil Lee instead of him going to the Mets, because I actually think he's a pretty good low ball player. He's a lefty bat. More of like a contact hitting type of guy, but he fields decently. I feel like we could have used him more than the Mets could have, in my opinion.
I don't know. I don't like this Benintendi trade at all. Like, you didn't get anything major for him, and you sold as low as you possibly could. At what point should you have just taken him and gone into the regular season? And, maybe if you don't want Andrew Benintendi long term, that's one thing. Take him into the season and see if he plays well. If he plays well, you could sell high at the deadline. You could get a high grade prospect for a team that's trying to win the World Series, like the Mets, and you can actually get something real for him instead of just a bunch of guys who maybe potentially might work out. I just think it's a bad trade. There's no way to sugarcoat it, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I think the Mets came out on top in the trade, and they just got a prospect that, again, could possibly be good for them down the line, but he's not going to be good off rip, obviously, because Kansas City literally only got Benintendi. And Benintendi still has 2 years left on his contract. Granted, Boston is going to eat a chunk of that for the first year. The second year, they got to pay the whole thing. Granted, who knows if Josh Winkowski one day could help our bullpen or be a starting pitcher for us. I don't know if he's a relief pitcher or not. But again, we're not going to see that at least for a couple years.
I've heard he's got a really good spin rate on his pitches, and that's why Chaim Bloom wanted him. And I'll be perfectly clear, I do not understand that level of analytics and like understanding all the spin rate stuff, but what I do know is that, trash can banging aside, spin rate was something huge for Astro pitchers. Maybe since Chaim Bloom is from the Tampa organization, Alex Cora is from Houston, where they heavily utilized analytics. And to be clear, the analytics that they did utilize analytics in Houston, they were just illegally using them in real time to gain an advantage, but they were using them. So a heavily analytics manager, a heavy analytics GM, and now there's a guy coming in who apparently has great spin rate on his breaking pitches. So
yeah, that Astros team also had the benefit of having Garrett Cole, who I think is like top 5 in spin rate, at least on his fastball, I think.
Every pitcher that they had was targeted for a reason. What I would love to see is the Red Sox adopt a similar system to what Tampa did, where they emphasize building through the farm system. What I don't want to see, though, is them becoming Tampa. I want them to develop a Tampa-like system where they're constantly bringing new guys up, but I want to see them keep the guys that are worth it. Like, you have the money that Tampa doesn't have, so develop who you can develop and go from there.
Yeah, like don't breed a Blake Snell and then end up trading him the year after you make it to the World Series.
Right, you develop a Blake Snell, and when he's up for a contract, you keep him instead of having to trade him because you can't afford his contract. You keep your Chris Archers, you keep your David Prices. Like, if you can keep those guys, how good would Tampa have been if they were able to keep these guys and maybe bring a Chris Archer or a Blake Snell up in the back end of the rotation at first, while you still have elite top end guys at the front of the rotation?
Yeah, because they had like James Shields and David Price.
Yeah, Tampa had some amazing teams that just ended up not going anywhere. They went to the World Series in, what was it, 09, 2010?
09, I believe.
09, yeah, 09 was the year the Phillies won. No.
08.
08.
Yeah, because 09 was the Yankees.
Yeah, you're right, 08. Yeah, I'll tell you in a minute why I remember 09 was the Yankees. But yeah, they had good teams and they had to dismantle them because they couldn't afford the guys that got them there anymore. So if the Red Sox can turn into that type of system, but actually be able to afford the guys that they develop, that would be perfect.
And they spend money.
Yeah, they just need to spend it wisely.
I agree.
So anyway, the reason I remember the Yankees were the World Series champs in 2009 is because one year in college, I had a great Halloween costume idea for, I want to say it was 2013. I dressed up as Alex Rodriguez.
Oh, God.
I was A-Rod for Halloween. And you might be thinking to yourself...
That's horrible.
Exactly. You might be thinking to yourself, that's horrible. Well, you know why?
Why?
Because we made jungle juice that night. And I had a friend who, one of my roommates was a nursing major. And he may or may not have gotten his hands on some syringes that didn't have the needles attached to them. And I may have been going around using the syringe to juice people up with the jungle juice.
Allegedly.
Even the Yankee fans at that party thought it was hilarious. That was one of my better gimmicks.
Allegedly juicing people.
He was allegedly.
Yeah, at one point, one of my friends, this girl who's like, 5'2", and like this really, really hyper, she ran up to me and she goes, "Hey, you shoot in my mouth and I'll shoot in yours." And I was just like, "Phrasing?" And she was like, "Oh my God, I didn't mean, oh my God." It was great. Really fun night.
You're like, ma'am, we are at a party.
Yeah. Fun fact, she trains NFL players now.
What? That's sick.
Yeah.
Shout out to her.
She trained Julian Edelman a couple of summers ago. Who was that wide receiver who played for the Bears with Jay Cutler?
Bears.
Was in Denver first. Brandon Marshall.
Yeah. I was like, I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember his name.
Apparently, Brandon Marshall used to live in the Boston area in the summers or in the off season.
I had no idea.
Yeah, apparently no one recognized him, and he could like just go out in the summer, and people wouldn't recognize him because he wasn't a Patriot, so no one cared.
No cap.
Crazy.
New England fans are very vain.
Yeah, incredibly.
Well, hey man, since we're already talking about football, let's transition to this NFL news. Alright, in NFL news, today on Twitter, JJ Watt posted a video announcing that he will be being released by the Houston Texans after 10 years of being on the team, which I think is well deserved for JJ Watt because he deserves to be on a team that is a actual consistent contender because he's been one of the best edge rushers we've seen in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, Watt's a shell of what he used to be at this point in his career, if he can even stay on the field and stay healthy. But, God, talk about a guy who just like... I think JJ Watt's a tool. I'll start off by saying that. But he gave everything to the Houston Texans.
He gave everything to Houston in general.
Right, that's right, because after the hurricane, he was one of like the major organizers to get relief to people.
Yeah, I think I read that he raised $3 million.
I thought it was more than that.
I thought it was more than that too, yeah.
You're the fact checker, look it up.
It was just, he's one of those guys that's just like, I mean, I think he's a tool because of the stuff that he does, where he's like his like whole rise and grind mentality about like
It was 41.6 million.
41.6 million. I don't know where I saw 3 million, but I apologize. Jason Giambi Watt. Giambi with the J.
so yeah, I want to say like JJ Watt's a great person. I just think his whole like I always get out to do the extra reps. Like it's like he always makes sure there's a camera there to catch him doing all the extra reps and stuff. So
You just think he's kind of corny, essentially.
yeah,
Everything that he's done, like outside of football, has been documented. Like there's always a camera wherever he goes.
not even that. It's more like the like I'm gonna run out on the field. I'm gonna go run sprints before the game. But it's like as soon as the camera crews show up is when he goes out to do it and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Which I mean, by all means, go for it. You're still a dork, but like the guy's done some amazing things for that organization, for that city, and the fact that this is the way his career in Houston ends is kind of tragic because he was just so good for so long. He was the best, arguably the best defensive player in the NFL until
Aaron Donald.
I want to say Aaron Donald really kind of took off a couple years ago, and like Bill O'Brien just destroyed that organization. Everything that's going on with Houston now, and now that JJ Watt's gone, it really is the end of the era of the Houston Texans being relevant. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, because now he's leaving the team that drafted him, and he spent 10 years of his life there, and he's leaving behind a fucking dumpster fire.
Yeah, through no fault of his own either. He didn't even like demand that they go out and get better players. If he did, he did it behind the scenes. He wasn't like that. As much as he wanted to make sure his workouts were documented by cameras, he wasn't himself the kind of guy that would like go get in front of a camera and start talking about how things need to be done better. Just a consummate professional, a great player, and it's a shame that has he even won. I don't think he's ever won a playoff game. Oh, actually, he's won 2 playoff games.
But weren't they just like wild card games?
In his career, he's won 3 playoff games because in 3 times he's played in more than 1 game. It wasn't a wasted career for him because he had a great career, but my God, Houston just wasted him.
Yeah, individually he has one of the best like defensive player careers in like a 10-year span ever, you could say. But he didn't win anything as a team because they didn't put the right pieces together, or maybe even because even when they did have those really successful years when Deshaun Watson first came in, JJ Watt was on the sideline a lot. Like you said earlier, the biggest concern is him being able to stay healthy now that he's later on in his career. Can he stay on the field? Can he make the same impact that he's been able to make earlier on in his career?
All right, so I'm going to read this list off. This list is going to be every season where a player has recorded 20 sacks.
Yep.
And I'm not going to read the season. I'm just going to read the players' names.
Yep.
So, Michael Strahan, Jared Allen, Mark Gastineau, Justin Houston, Chris Dolman, Reggie White, Aaron Donald, Lawrence Taylor, J.J. Watt, Derek Thomas, DeMarcus Ware. What did you notice about that list?
JJ Watt's the only one to do it twice.
Yep.
You're goddamn right.
What a beast, man. Even last year he had 5.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a back.
5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 36 solo tackles. But luckily he did play all 16 games. So that's a good sign going into next year at least.
Did he have a pick 6 this year?
I'm pretty sure he did.
I think he had a pick 6 against the Patriots.
Actually, no. He only has 1 touchdown in his career. That was 2014.
JJ Watt did not score a touchdown this year. I could have swore he did.
I also could have swore he did. Also, now that I'm looking at it, he's only not played a full season 3 times.
Oh yeah, no, the dude was a tank.
No, he scored a touchdown on the Thanksgiving game against the Lions this year.
Yeah, it wasn't a defensive touchdown though. It was offensive.
Oh, maybe that's what I was thinking of then.
Yeah, I couldn't tell from this clip if that was offense or defense, but yeah, you're right. That is an offensive touchdown.
So yeah, waste of a career. Way to go, Houston.
Where do you foresee him going? No bias from me, but like him on the 49ers would be kind of nasty.
I don't think so. There's a few things that are going through my head right now. Number one is JJ Watt ready to take a secondary role at this point in his career? How bad does he want to win? In that case, I say if he's willing to take a secondary role, then he's going to Tampa on a team-friendly deal. That team is returning everyone. If they add JJ Watt as their like backup defensive end, then that team's going to just be a machine next year.
Kind of like Clay Matthews on the Rams a couple years ago.
Dude, I forgot about that. Yeah, no, you're right. Same,
Different positions, but same roles.
but yeah, looking at the Bucks roster this year and looking at their defense, let me pull up their sack numbers.
Pause.
Did you say pause?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing that you can hear in the podcast.
Anyway, the Bucks had their starting defensive end were Jason Pierre-Paul, and
I thought he was a D tackle.
he's listed here on Pro Football Reference as a defensive end. So maybe if they're running a 3-4, he plays defensive end.
Huh.
And then William Golston is the other listed defensive end who only had 3 sacks this year. If you add JJ Watt to that, that is a healthy defensive line you have there. That scares me. Part of me wants to see him go to Pittsburgh. I kind of want to see
him and TJ.
all the Watt brothers there.
Imagine that. That would actually be pretty sick.
I don't know. What's the third brother's name? Like RJ or something?
No idea off the top of my head.
Find out. Derek Watt.
It's JJ, TJ, and Derek.
Poor Derek didn't get a cool initial.
Oh my God. Derek's middle name is John.
DJ?
You got JJ and TJ and DJ. You got all the J's.
Fucking Derek.
His family did that on purpose, and he was like, nah, fuck that. My name's Derek.
Nah, I'm Derek. It's like, alright, brother. To wrap this up, we could at least say whoever does end up picking up JJ Watt, if they have some nice young defensive ends, they could learn a lot from him. You're going to be getting a quality human, aside from him being kind of corny, and you're getting a good player as long as he's on the field.
Yeah, I'd say honestly, great landing spots for him would be Chargers. Have him. I mean, Joey Bosa doesn't need much mentorship, but
you know who does though? Who to make him even better?
Are you gonna say Nick Bosa?
Nicholas Bosa.
He was next on my list, but I think it depends on where JJ Watt, what he wants out of the next couple of years of his career, because he could totally be the type of guy that gets brought into a place like Washington and is brought in to help reset the culture and set the tone.
Make Chase Young even nastier too.
And help mentor a guy like Chase Young, who has shown himself to be a real leader on that team this year. So I think Washington could be a great fit for him. And I emphasize could on that, just because I'm not sure if he'll actually do it. Because if there's going to be a year for him to sell out and go for a title, this is it.
Yeah, if you're in the NFL and your goal isn't to win the Super Bowl, then get out.
He's a five-time Pro Bowler that's only been to the playoffs 3 times in his career.
No, he's been to the playoffs like 6, but he's only won 3 games, and they were all wild card games. He's never won in the divisional round.
He's only won in the playoffs 3 times, and he's a 5-time Pro Bowler. I would imagine he wants a Super Bowl ring.
100%.
Yeah. So yeah, for that reason, I think he's going to the Bucks. And that'll be my final take on that.
Alright, let's get into some AEW. Wednesday night, we had the best wrestling show in all of television. Once again, Wednesday night treat. We had the shows open with Darby Allin versus Joey Janela in a very entertaining match, even though I was kind of surprised that it opened the show. I started watching kind of late because I was in the shower. I had to clean up after a workout. So I started watching when Joey dumped Darby on the apron and then hit the tope to the outside. Nice back and forth match. Joey actually got a lot of offense in. It was his best showing so far, ever since his lights out match against Kenny that we had the privilege to watch live in Boston.
It wasn't a lights out match. It was just or was it a lights out match?
It was a lights out match. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The house lights came on and then went off and then came back on.
Yeah, it was a lights out match that was on dark.
Makes sense. Darby ends up hitting his stunner, followed by a nice little roll through pin for a near fall, followed by a nasty pile driver from Joey Janela, completely spiked him on the top of his head. But unfortunately for Joseph Janela, that wasn't enough, as he wasn't able to kick out after Darby delivered a coffin drop from the top rope, while Joey had his left arm pinned under him that was getting worked over the entire match. So good showing from Joey, but he caught the L.
Yeah, I thought this was a good match for both guys. One of those good instances where both guys came out of the match looking strong. Joey still looks like he is someone that can step in and be a contender and possibly steal one night. And, it gives Darby a title defense because it's the one thing his title reign has been missing is defenses.
One thing Darby hasn't been missing, or maybe he was missing him after this segment, but Sting. The answer is Sting. Because let's just lump these together. Later on, there was a Sting interview with Tony Schiavone in the ring where before Sting could even speak, guess what happened? Guess what happened, guys? You guessed it. You done diddly got it. He was interrupted by the Tasmanian Devil himself, Taz. He was in a car with Will Hobbs next to him, and the camera pans over, and you see Ricky Starks and Brian Cage standing over a body bag with Darby Allin's lifeless body in it, strapped to the SUV they're in, and they kidnap him. Back-to-back weeks, we get a kidnapping on AEW. What do you guys think? Should the police be involved? I think so.
I hope the police are already involved. I hope when Sting ran out, it was to call the cops.
Sting should keep a better eye on his child. That's all I gotta say.
Seeing Darby get dragged across the parking lot was really funny.
So yeah, Sting should keep a better eye on his child, but that was later on in the show. Earlier on in the show, after the Darby-Joey match, we had a Mox promo where it is announced that him and Kenta will be fighting for the IWGP US title on the 26th of February. Should be a good match. Looking forward to that.
It's about fucking time.
I agree. After that, we had another promo. So this was a really promo-heavy show, but it wasn't like the WWE promo-heavy shows where you just feel like it's dragging on and on because every promo was like under 2 minutes. They got straight to the point. Everything was concise. Everything had a purpose to it, and it was honestly, in my opinion, the episode of Dynamite that advanced stories further. That it was the first episode of Dynamite where they've advanced stories in a while, and it was a really good breath of fresh air. So after that, we had an MJF Sammy promo, and this was great because from the jump, I already knew that MJF was going to try to fuck Sammy over. While Sammy's talking, MJF takes his phone out and he sets it down to record, and he records Sammy saying that he wants to take over the Inner Circle and that he hates Chris Jericho so that he could use it against him. Sammy ends up punching MJF in the gut, and somehow this ends up breaking his ribs, as we see later on.
Also threw MJF's phone at the wall.
Also threw his phone at the wall, and later on, MJF had the fat piece of shit rib tape on. And yeah.
Who do you think he is, Adam Cole?
Adam Cole, DDP mixed into both.
The one thing I really hate about this whole angle, so I'm just going to ask a series of questions and have you answer them for me.
Yes.
What was Sammy's goal in this segment?
To confront MJF about having a talk with the Inner Circle last week.
Sammy's goal was to get proof, which is why he brought the cameraman, was to get proof that MJF is trying to take over the Inner Circle.
Okay, and what was MJF's?
To fuck over Sammy.
And how was he going to do that?
By recording him.
In front of what?
In front of the camera, which Sammy brought in, which had the full clip of what happened.
So what bothers me so much about this is that, like, everyone's talking about how this is such great storytelling, but the details of it are so catastrophically bad. How many times has Chris Jericho brought up that they watched the show?
Many times.
He is so many times in this feud, he has brought that up.
Well, so that was key. Later, when they get ready to go out for the tag match, Jericho says that he was busy and wasn't watching the show.
Right, but he knows that it's recorded.
Look, Jericho's too busy to go back and watch things. If he doesn't see it live, he doesn't see it.
Yeah, but he has a Twitter. He could look at the clip on the AEW Twitter.
But it's too late by then.
Yeah, but he at least knows the truth of what happened. In kayfabe, obviously.
And that's what bothers me, is that, like, they know that the show's being recorded. They know that there's a camera there. And MJF's big angle was, oh, I'm going to record him and then edit the audio in front of this camera, in this room where we actually have the show on live in the back corner on the TV, because we've seen that a couple of times now, where you go into the Inner Circle's locker room and the show is on.
Right, and it's not like they're pretending the camera's not there, because right before the door closes, Sammy says, "Camera stays."
I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to get Sammy over as a babyface and position MJF as potentially as the leader of the Inner Circle, or whatever offshoot faction comes of that. I just don't think they're doing a very great job of it. It's like this. It's like the Star Wars prequels. There's a great underlying story there, but my God, the journey to that story is terrible.
My only question is face Sammy going to go back to wearing the panda head to the ring?
No, because he did that as a heel. He also has said that he hates traveling with it.
Well, he could probably just leave it in Jacksonville now.
Yeah, he'd just leave it in Jacksonville. He has to fly with it once.
So I have a question when it comes to the details. Did you not enjoy the detail of Santana and Ortiz asking MJF if they were fine, or if he was fine with leaving him alone with Sammy?
Wait, say that again?
So when Sammy says, "I need a minute with him," Santana and Ortiz get up and say to MJF, "Are you fine?"
Yeah.
Alone?
No, that was great. I'm going to talk about Santana and Ortiz a little bit later. But yeah, I think it's becoming clear that Santana and Ortiz have been won over by MJF. And I think whatever happens, they're going to side with him.
Also, my statement, I remember, was that I still don't think it's going to be like Sammy completely turning on the Inner Circle as in like leaving. I honestly still think it's going to be MJF and Sammy like being in cahoots to take out Jericho.
No, I don't think so. I think they're turning Sammy face, and he's not going to be a part of the Inner Circle.
But I only feel that way because of kind of what Eric said earlier, is that like a lot of like the details are like so obvious. It's obvious that MJF is trying to set up Sammy so that he gets away from the Inner Circle so that he could take over. In my mind, I see them as doing that on purpose so that they could swerve us in the end.
Well, one thing I did see on the internet was someone came up with the idea, and I can't remember who it was, but it was someone on Reddit, and I'm not taking credit for this, but I remember seeing someone suggest that when Sammy and Jericho went off last week, when Jericho chased Sammy out of the locker room, it's entirely possible that in that off-screen segment that Jericho and Sammy talked. Jericho's taking Sammy's side, and now we're going to see and that everything that happened was a setup to set MJF up, but it's going to backfire on them.
Right, it's going to backfire because Santana and Ortiz are going to take MJF's side.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it could go that way, yeah.
I like that idea too. I just don't see them doing the obvious thing. Just because, like, obviously they're known for doing the obvious thing, but they've also have been able to swerve us from time to time. And, like, I just feel like the booking and, like, the story beats are like, too obvious.
Here's my question, then. What did MJF promise them that makes them want to back MJF?
I think MJF has just manipulated them to a point where they trust him, and they think he's not as bad of a guy as he seems, and that he's just a guy trying to get ahead and get a chance, a lot like themselves. And especially now that the whole Jericho and MJF thing had gone down, and Jericho was like, "Oh, we'll have a match to determine the true tag team of the Inner Circle." And for lack of a better term, it gives Santana and Ortiz an opening to actually have a gripe and actually have something logical to say, you know what, we aren't happy with our situation, and we do want to see some change.
But by that logic, they could also just leave the Inner Circle.
So I think what's going to happen is that the Inner Circle is going to go away, but MJF is going to name a new faction, basically. And that they don't see MJF as part of the Inner Circle. They're leaving the Inner Circle and joining MJF.
His faction's going to be the BTY.
The what?
The BTY. The better than you.
I think we should move on.
Sorry, that was...
Yeah, that was very, very bad.
All right. Moving on. We had Cody, Big Shotty, Lee Johnson versus Pretty Peter Avalon and his Pretty Peter against Cesar Banana, the boy from NXT. This was an opportunity for them to get Lee and Banana Man more reps in the ring, and Lee Johnson continues to impress me. He hits a twisting Fosbury flop to the outside that I honestly didn't think he was going to clear the rope for, but he kind of barely did. And then he did a nasty pump handle neck breaker for a near fall. It was very nice to watch. He has a nice move set. He's obviously still young in his wrestling career, so he has like some timing stuff, some footwork stuff to get down. But besides that, he has the moves down. He has a good look to him, and he ends up picking up his first win ever in AEW after being there for a year.
He is officially 1-29.
And also, fortunately, in this match, no Pretty Peters were harmed, as in penises.
You can just call them Peters.
The only thing that was harmed was kayfabe Cody's shoulder and possibly real life Cody's knee.
I heard that that's really Cody's shoulder.
Oh, see, I heard that he actually hurt his knee, but who fucking knows, because no one's confirmed anything.
Great news after this match. They announced on all of their social medias that Big Shotty Lee Johnson is now officially All Elite. Finally gets signed. Good for him. Congratulations. What did you think of this match, you guys?
It was good. I like that Cody let somebody else have the spotlight, which is kind of unusual for him. And I can say that as a Cody Rhodes fan.
I don't know. Cody's been putting guys over a lot in his time in AEW.
Yeah, but like the last, I want to say like 3 tag matches that he was a part of, he definitely took the spotlight. Like it didn't matter what else was going on. The focus was on what Cody was doing. And Cody spent a lot more time not on camera in this match than usual.
Yeah, but a lot of Cody's recent matches have played into the, Jade Cargill Shaq angle.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm so happy there was no Jade Cargill or Shaq. Well, I mean, I don't mind Jade Cargill, but I'm so happy there was no Shaq.
They didn't even mention it.
Hopefully they canceled the match.
They didn't. I'm sure they didn't. We would have heard about it by now.
Damn
Shaq
it.
would have been on Twitter like, fuck you guys.
Fuck AEW. But yeah, good showing for the younger guys in this match, except for Cesar Banana possibly hurting Cody. But, shit happens. He wasn't on NXT that often, so maybe he just needs more reps and shit. And hopefully he could get that in AEW. After that, we had a Young Bizzle, Good Bizzle promo. Young Bucks decide to defend their titles next week against the beautiful Puerto Rican, my boys, Santana and Ortiz, after being convinced by the Good Brothers that their heat should be with them. Them being Santana and Ortiz and not the Good Brothers, because they were actually eliminated by Santana and Ortiz, and all the Good Brothers did was just a little distraction.
But they weren't there to distract the Bucks. They were there to distract Private Party,
according to them, allegedly. And then they also said that Wolfpack Sting is in the building and asked him for a 2 Sweet.
Yeah, that promo ended with Anderson going, "Stinger, give me a 2 Sweet."
So, what do you mean, what? All right. Well, I'm gonna ask you questions again.
Question man.
I like this.
Who are they facing next week for the tag titles?
Santana and Ortiz.
And who has a tag title shot at Revolution?
The Inner Circle.
Jericho and MJF.
Do you guys think it's possible that we're gonna see not necessarily interference, but we're gonna see Gallows and Anderson cost the Bucks the titles to Santana and Ortiz?
You think the Good Brothers are going to cost the Bucks the titles in the match with Santana and Ortiz, so that at Revolution it's Inner Circle versus Inner Circle for the tag titles?
No, it's not Inner Circle versus Inner Circle. It's MJF screwing Chris Jericho.
Oh.
What are you going to do to get people to watch Dynamite? I think screwing Chris Jericho and tearing down his faction is going to get a lot of people to tune in to Dynamite to see the fallout from a pay-per-view like that.
Okay, so let me ask you this, and this is more about the Good Brothers Impact tag titles now. If that happens on Dynamite, do the Young Bucks cost Gallows and Anderson their titles in the match against Private Party?
No, because the match against Private Party is tomorrow night. And again, we record on a Friday, so tomorrow night is actually Saturday, February 13th.
So to answer your original question, as much as we all know how much I would love for that to happen, and it's definitely a possibility because the way you just laid it out makes it seem like there's a 90% chance that it could happen. And honestly, if it did happen, I wouldn't mind it at all. But I don't see them actually doing it. Like it is definitely a possibility, and I do think the Good Brothers are probably gonna get involved. But they also aren't. They also have shown us that they're not scared to not necessarily job out Santana and Ortiz, but just make them lose. It's definitely possible that the Good Brothers come out to try to distract the Young Bucks, and they still end up winning.
Yeah, and I don't think they're gonna try to distract the Young Bucks. I think they're gonna do it in a way that they can play the hey guys, we tried to help you. We came out here to help you again, and you guys blew it. I don't know. I think it's one of those things that's way too convenient for two major storylines.
For me, it comes down to when it takes place on the show. If it's gonna open the show like they usually tend to do with their tag team title matches or just tag team matches in general, then there's no way that they're gonna swerve us in the beginning of the show, unless that's just what they want us to believe. But I highly doubt it. If it's the main event, there's a decent chance that there could be a swerve.
Alex, what do we have for announced matches next week?
Give me a second. I'll check for you.
Because yeah, depending on what's already announced, it might be feasible that the tag titles become the main event. If the tag titles are the main event, Santana and Ortiz are winning.
You're calling your shot right now?
Calling my shot right now. I will put a... Ooh, you know what? I'm too old to have Rubinoff now. And I think I gave the rest to Kyle, so I don't have any more.
I'm dead.
So, I don't know. Maybe I'll do like a triple scotch on it or something. Last time I had a triple scotch was when the Pats lost to the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and I blacked out and threw up in a tub full of cheese balls.
What? I'm dying.
All right, let's see. The World Tag Title match with the Bucks versus Santana and Ortiz. We're getting another championship eliminator tournament round between Serena Deep and Riho. 8-man tag match. Matt Hardy's Carney Party against the Hybrid 2 and Chaos Project. The Seidels versus FTR. And I think that's all that's been announced so far.
Dude, Bucks,
yeah,
that's main event.
Yeah, if that's all that's gonna happen, then they'll probably have the FTR Seidel brothers match open.
Well, I'll put it this way: what are the three biggest storylines that they're trying to push right now? Kenny Omega, Sting and Darby, and Inner Circle are the three biggest that they're trying to push right now. So,
no, next week they're gonna they announced that Sting is gonna call out Team Taz.
Two of your two tag teams involved in your two biggest angles right now have a match with titles on the line. I just don't see how that's not going to main event.
All right, next up on the show we had Adam Page, Matt Hardy promo where Matt thanks Hangman for letting him see his dick by renting out an entire bar for him and offers to take him out and pick up the tab.
Allegedly. We still don't know that.
As Hangman goes to get his stuff, he runs into the Dark Order very awkwardly. A nice little detail about this that I loved was Anna giving him the nastiest death stare in the background. You could see it as he's walking past her, and because apparently she's like the mom of the Dark Order, as we saw on BTE when she told him to go away from the sleepover they were going to have.
I also like that John Silver started that interaction by going, "Oh, hey, is that Hangman?"
When he's clearly looking right at him.
They're like 5 feet away and he knows what Hangman looks like, but he's like, "Oh, hey, is that Hangman?"
Later on in the show, we get a shot of them in the bar together that Matt rented out. Hangman is very drunk, and Matt is trying to get him to sign one of his Carney contracts, but Hangman's alcohol tolerance is way too high for that. So while Matt is explaining to the camera guy why he's there, Hangman switches out the contracts behind Matt's back, and the Carney gets out-Carneyed. Somebody that needed some alcohol after his match was hot young Hollywood Briley. Next up, him versus Pac, in essentially a squash match. I think our most favorite wrestler here on the Gio Knows Nothing podcast, hot young Hollywood Briley, only got like 3 moves in. Pac goes over with the Black Arrow Brutalizer combo, holds it on for a couple seconds after, and hot young Briley got made fun of by his brother right after the show.
Wait, who's his brother?
I don't know, some jobber in WWE. After that, we had a Chris Jericho promo where he's explaining why there's only like 3 members of the Inner Circle there. Santana and Ortiz show up, tell Jericho that they found MJF in the trainer's room. MJF comes into frame with some DDP rib tape, some fat piece of shit Adam Cole rib tape on after only taking 1 punch from Sammy, and apparently that broke at least some of his ribs. And this leads into M. Jericho F versus the Acclaimed. Nice little decent match. The Acclaimed get a nice near fall when Jericho goes for the lion salt, but gets clocked by the boombox from Caster on the outside. Bowens ends up taking a nasty spill to the outside, and then Jericho takes advantage by hitting a nice Judas effect on Caster in the ring for the 1-2-3. After the match, Sammy comes in after being missing for the entire match, and he proves that he's a man of his word because he told Jericho if MJF fucked with him again, he'd be done. So he looks Jericho eye to eye, and he tells him, I am done, and he leaves the Inner Circle. At least for now. We don't know what's going to happen, as we discussed earlier.
Yeah, could be a work, could be something bigger, but I think Sammy's done in the Inner Circle.
It could be a shoot and Sammy quit for real.
Well, no, I mean, like, they could be working MJF, but I doubt it. I think Sammy's legit gone out of the Inner Circle.
So since Eric called his shot earlier, let's all call our shots for what we think this is going to be. I'm saying that it's going to be MJF and Sammy turning on Chris.
I'm saying Sammy face turn.
Saying MJF has manipulated the rest of the Inner Circle against Jericho.
I love how we have 3 different takes.
It's good preparation in the story that they created so many different angles to approach this from. But just, it's been a rocky road to get to this point.
Again, just one of those things in wrestling, we just got to see how it ends up unfolding. After that, we had the Sting interview that I brought up earlier. We also had a Kenny promo where Marvez's obsession with Kenny Omega, as well as his use of Bray Wyatt's teleportation skills, come into full effect as he appears out of nowhere as Kenny is golfing.
Yeah, my favorite thing about this segment wasn't anything about, Don running and getting Kenny's golf ball and dropping it and to say that he got it in one shot when he was clearly like several shots into playing that hole. But my God, Alex Marvez, he's a genius. But with one line, asking Kenny for a ride back to Daly's place to try to hide his teleporting abilities.
He got his superpowers and he's trying to use them for bad and hide them.
I want to know how Kenny didn't notice the cameraman behind him before Alex Marvez walked up.
No, he was already there, conveniently. They were shooting a little promo package.
They were filming Kenny golf.
Yeah, because he's the Michael Jordan of wrestling.
When you have a star like Kenny Omega, he's not afraid to have cameras around him all the time.
Golf, you saw him get that one shot in. After that, we had Layla Hirsch versus Thunder Rosa in just a phenomenal match. Thunder Rosa can do no wrong in my eyes. Great mat wrestling to begin. It was a nice, real struggle for control to start the match. But for me, it didn't really pick up until after the commercial break, with Layla attempting to mount a comeback, culminating in a near fall after a flying crossbody. She ends up failing 2 moonsault attempts back to back, followed by a nasty knee from Thunder Rosa for a near fall. But eventually, Layla Hirsch succumbs to Thunder Rosa's finisher, whose the name escapes me right now, and she picks up the win in the first round of the Women's Eliminator Tournament. What'd you think of this match? Give me a nice little quick synopsis.
Yo, Layla Hirsch is a legit badass. And I know they call her legit Layla Hirsch, and they call her legit because she is fucking legit, man.
Very good pun.
Thunder Rosa is just a bad bitch.
She might be my favorite women's wrestler right now.
It was a great match from 2 great
100%.
workers.
Layla Hirsch needs to get signed.
Yeah. Well, now on to the main event, because...
Tough main event. Very entertaining, though. Whole lot going on from the jump. We had talking about Kenny and his good brother Kenta versus Jonathan Moxley and Mr. Lance Archer. The story early on is, can Kenta and Kenny get on the same page? Because the faces were kind of on the same page off the rip. But that kind of didn't really mean anything, because eventually they started beating up John Moxley because they have that one thing in common. Kenny hits the "You Can't Escape" on Mox with the trash can assisted, followed by a hesitation drop kick in the corner from Kenta. The fight gets taken to the kitchen, of all places, and Mox gets thrown onto a steel table.
A kitchen surface, according to Tony Schiavone.
He gets thrown onto a steel kitchen surface. He's going for a pile driver, which Kenta reverses into a DDT for a near fall. And after that, Lance Archer picks up a nice box of some Idaho potatoes, throws it straight at Kenta's face, and it took me completely off guard.
Yeah, are we going to completely skip over the fact that Kenny Omega got thrown through Pretty Peter Avalon's heart-shaped bed?
Yo, Gio's just Russian.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to write it down in my notes.
He got fucking choke slammed through it.
Yeah, that was awesome. But the potatoes were even better.
Yeah, I thought he was hurt at first, but yes, the potatoes come into play because if you're in the kitchen, what else are you going to use besides a box of potatoes? After that, the fight gets brought back towards ringside. Archer threatens to powerbomb Kenta through the announcer's table, which isn't even like an announcer's table like the WWE ones. It's like an actual table. So like he would have broken his back.
Yeah, it's got like real wood sides, a glass top. That's gonna hurt to go through.
Yeah, luckily Kenta ends up escaping, runs off the stage with a double stomp onto Mox, who was conveniently placed onto the timekeeper's table. After that, it's just Archer and Kenny. Kenny knows he's gonna need some help. He gets in the ring, grabs a kendo stick, but to no avail. Archer grabs it, breaks it over his knee, and ends up hitting the old school rope walk moonsault for a near fall. Eventually, it's a no DQ match, so we kind of knew the Good Brothers were going to do something. They come out, they try to run interference, and they almost get Jake Roberts killed after he hits Carl Anderson with a short arm clothesline. He's set up perfectly for the V-trigger. Kenny runs at him, but he ends up running right into a barbed wire bat from Mox. But didn't really mean anything in the result of the match. They did end up booking Archer very, very strong because it took 3 people to take him out, as well as 2 finishers. Kenny tries to get him on his shoulders. Tries to get him on his shoulders for the one-winged angel. He has to get some help from the Good Brothers. Ends up hitting it, and they end up going over.
This was an awesome match. I really like this one a lot. This is one of those ones that I think next week, when the Meltzer star ratings come out for this week's matches, I think this is probably going to get at least 4.75.
They're doing a really good job of making Archer look like a monster.
Archer looked like an absolute monster. Obviously, Mox looked good. Kenta had an amazing debut in AEW. Kenny looked like the world champ. It was just a great match for everyone. Everyone got a fantastic offense in. They worked the storyline of Kenny and Kenta having the common enemy, and it was just good all around. They had everything in this match.
Yeah, and even going into it, we kind of knew who was going to end up taking the pin because it wasn't going to be the champ. It wasn't going to be Moxley, who just came back. It wasn't going to be Kenta, who works for another company. We knew it was going to be Archer, but like Alex said, they've done a really good job recently of booking him like the monster that he's supposed to be. It took a bevy of moves, multiple people being involved for him to even stay down for 3. And eventually, when that match happens for the AEW Championship, him versus Mox, I'm interested to see how they go about that.
I'm going to break my gimmick here for a minute and say that I enjoyed this entire match, including the parts of it that were Kenny Omega.
Wow.
Whoa!
Ladies and gentlemen, growth.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Big Papa is now going to change his name from Cody Rhodes Mark to Kenny Omega Mark. It is official right here on the Gio Knows Nothing podcast, episode 5. You heard it here first.
Let's title this episode the one where Alex becomes a Kenny Omega Mark.
Oh, that's going in the title.
I didn't say... I said I enjoyed this match. I didn't say I liked Kenny Omega, all right?
And the best part is Gio's going to edit all of this audio to make it sound like you love Kenny Omega now.
I'm going to make you say it like 3 times in a row.
But I didn't say that. I like Kenny Omega, all right? I like Kenny Omega, all right? I like Kenny Omega, all right? I like Kenny Omega, all right?
Well, Gio, it was a lot of fun getting together tonight. I hope everyone enjoyed the podcast. We're definitely not going to have any more time for Alex to defend himself. So, Alex is a Kenny Omega part.
Can't save yourself, buddy. Haha. I want to thank everybody for checking out this episode of Gio Knows Nothing. Great episode, had a lot of fun, great wrestling to talk about. We hope to see everybody next week. Everybody say adios.
Sayonara.
Adios.
Everybody stay safe. I hope everybody had a good Valentine's Day. Hopefully no babies coming out in October. And yeah, we'll see you later. Peace.